Coming up on Viewpoint, are the NCAA's transfer policies truly fair? We talked to Trentonian sports writer Kyle Franco about the organization's regulations and how they're affecting transfer student athletes all over the country.
Isn't that what you want to do when you're 18 to 22, 23 years old? You're at college, you want to play.
We also sit down with Rider men's basketball coach Kevin Baggett on how the NCAA's policies have affected one of our very own transfer athletes.
It was sad because, to me, I thought he should have had an opportunity to play right away, sooner than later.
And later, we get a chance to sit down with Rider men's basketball athlete Matt Lopez about how the NCAA has affected his time at Rider so far.
Kind of like a relief, kind of to know finally that I wasn't going to be able to play. But at the same time, I was obviously sad that I couldn't play immediately.
All that coming up on Viewpoint, presented by Run 100. The world of college basketball has opened many doors for student athletes to succeed. But some athletes feel as though that they received the short end of the stick. One of our own basketball players is a prime example of this. Matt Lopez is the center on the Rider men's basketball team who was forced to sit out this past season after being denied a hardship waiver from the NCAA. Of course, Lopez is not the only student athlete to be denied the waiver, but regardless, his story is still unique. Later on in the show, we'll introduce you to him, but first, here's our reporter Jim Vassell, who will tell you all you need to know about the NCAA's transfer process.
Ball back out to Andrew for the three, and that one's off. Tapped into the hands of Boatwright with 5 seconds, and this most improbable tournament run comes to an end with a UConn championship.
We've seen them on TV, and we've seen them triumph in victory. Somehow, it all seems like magic. But behind the so-called magic we're used to seeing is the hard work and sweat of NCAA student athletes. But life can turn complicated for student athletes who decide to transfer. Rider center Matt Lopez is the perfect example. He first played at LaSalle University and then transferred to Utah State, where he was required to sit out for a year. But then Lopez wanted to return to his home region to be near his ailing grandfather, so he applied to transfer to Rider and applied for a legislative relief waiver.
Now, applying for the waiver allows an athlete the chance to begin playing immediately for their new team after transferring. You get the waiver, you get back in the game. Now, later on in the episode, you're going to have the chance to meet Matt Lopez, but first, let's take you through what the NCAA says you need before you qualify for the waiver.
First is if the student athlete has an immediate family member with a debilitating injury or illness. Next, the student athlete must be available as a daily caregiver for the family member. Then, the student athlete's new school must be within a 100-mile radius of the family member's home. And finally, the new school must send the NCAA a written statement confirming the student athlete will be relieved of all team duties to care for the family member should they need it.
It's tough because you feel for the kid.
Trentonian sports columnist Kyle Franco has covered the Matt Lopez transfer saga since its inception and said the NCAA denied Matt the waiver 3 times.
All he wants to do is get on the court and play with his teammates.
According to the IRS, Lopez is a dependent of his grandparents, but the NCAA still does not recognize them as his immediate family, which Franco says creates a blurred line.
There's just not a lot of clarification in terms of what gets you a waiver, what doesn't get you a waiver, and you have some suits now in Indianapolis deciding for Matt Lopez whether his grandparents are his primary caregivers.
Which has been a headache to coach Kevin Baggett, who had a disappointing season last year without Lopez. He told us he first met Lopez long before he was ever a Rider student.
We had a chance to play against him when he was at LaSalle, and again, I was here at Rider then, and I thought he was talented then, and then when we had the opportunity to bring him in as a transfer, it was a no doubt, a no-brainer. We wanted him to come and play for us.
Coach said the team collected every document it needed to get Matt to play.
We had income tax documentations, we had legal guardian documentations, residency documentation.
And still, the NCAA denied Lopez 3 times, which makes Coach Baggett wonder about how unfair the system really can be.
And to tell that young man that those aren't his guardians, and the fact that they're sick, and not knowing all that he's been through and growing up with him and watching his grandparents, start to lose their health and things. And so it's unfortunate. It was sad because, to me, I thought he should have had an opportunity to play right away, sooner than later.
But soon Coach Baggett knows he'll have his 7-footer back in the paint.
We're certainly excited to have him next year, and I think he's going to be a big part of what we get done going forward next year. So we're certainly excited to have him. He's a legitimate big guy that we have in the program. We have a few of them, but again, he's pretty dynamic, can score the ball, he can handle the ball. We're excited to have him, and we're excited for good things for him.
The show of college basketball continues on, and Division I's brightest stars will continue to perform their magic. But for Matt Lopez, he's still waiting for his act to begin.
Lopez is set to play beginning this fall for the team, but that's not what he had in mind at first. With an ailing grandfather and both of his parents out of the picture, it's safe to say that he's had his fair share of struggles off the court. Though he may be a talented player, it's evident that luck hasn't always been on his side. I had a chance to sit down with Lopez and hear directly from him about how he feels about the situation. Take a look. So can you start by telling us a little bit about your journey, how you got involved with basketball, and all the way up until you got to Rider?
Actually, I was a swimmer at first, and I swam, I played football, and I played basketball. And football was like my main focus, followed by swimming, actually, and then basketball was like put on the back burner. And my mom like always wanted me to play basketball because I was tall, and I just kind of really wasn't into it and stuff like that. And then she actually ended up passing away, and then I kind of devoted more like focus to basketball a little bit more because I kind of saw like where she was coming from. I saw like that I had advantage over other players, and then I just kind of like during all that, I just like kind of escaped from my own life, just put music on, going to the gym, and just shooting around.
That's cool. So it was kind of an escape for you?
Yeah, it was like therapeutic.
So is it still therapeutic even now?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm just coming off like a small procedure in my shoulder, so I couldn't like shoot around for like 2 months, and that's been tough.
As far as colleges go, when it was time for you to decide where you were going to pursue your career, can you talk a little bit about where you started and how you ended up here?
Well, I went to Washington Township High School, and my sophomore year, I had a whole bunch of college interests, and I decided to commit to LaSalle University really soon. So I committed probably, I think, either at the end of my sophomore year or before my junior season in high school, which now like I kind of regret a little bit, but it all played out well, I think, for me. I went to LaSalle, and I played for like half a season and decided to transfer out. And then I went to Utah State and played for a year, and then due to like some family reasons, I decided to come home.
But what was it about LaSalle that you didn't like?
It's not that like I really like the coaching staff and the players over there. The way they play, like the way their system like kind of switched up with a couple key transfers. Like they had a kid come in from South Carolina, Ramon Galloway, who was like a really good guard. So we switched the focus from like from 2 big men to kind of like a 1 big man, and like even when I wasn't, I was kind of around the perimeter, so just like wasn't my game. And on top of that, I wanted to like participate fully with the Puerto Rican national team. And at LaSalle, they were letting me participate, but I wanted to like be clear to do anything I wanted to in the summer, which kind of was like the final push for me to try and see if I could find another place.
So with the Puerto Rican national team, would you travel the whole summer with them and then come back and start the semester? How does that work?
So for this coming summer, I'll be going from probably most of July and August, and then I'll probably be back hopefully before September. I don't know. There's a tournament that's like at the end of August and in September, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to participate with that because of school.
So you probably get opportunities then if you wanted to go pro there, you could.
Yeah, they have like different leagues over there. In Puerto Rico, it's called the BSN, and yeah, I think I probably want to play over there eventually one day.
Well, at least you have a good opportunity to get your foot in the door there. So when you finally got to Rider after all that, how was the transition for you?
It was different. I haven't been home. I was out on the West Coast for almost 2 years, so like coming back home was a nice change. But it was nice. It was nice seeing like all my friends again and stuff, and having everybody. This Rider is kind of like a stone's throw away from my house, so a lot of my like childhood friends can come up and watch me play, which is awesome.
And you're closer to your family too, which is important.
A huge reason why I transferred. Yeah, I didn't mean to leave that out.
Well, speaking of that, can you talk a little bit about your experience with the NCAA once you finally did get here?
We tried to file for a waiver to try and get me to play immediately, so I wouldn't have to sit out for transferring because I came home for some extensive circumstances. So we had to apply for a waiver, and it got shot down. So we actually appealed it, and the appeal we thought was going to look really good, and that got shut down too. And then we had another run at it. We had some guys, we had some, I think a lawyer tell us that that we had like kind of a chance to appeal again. And an NCAA rep actually told us that it looked really good, but it came back negative again. They shot us down.
Do you think it's because you transferred twice? Like, do you think that's part of the reason why, or the whole reason why?
Well, I'm sure it has something to do with it, definitely. I mean, they kind of, NCAA kind of like is a little bit strict with players transferring and stuff, I guess to prevent players from like switching after every season and stuff. But like a lot of people don't know that coaches have a lot of power in this. So, for example, like if I wanted to leave Utah State and go somewhere else, my coach at Utah State could have told me no. And scholarships aren't, they're not guaranteed. So after 1 year, if like let's just say like a coach doesn't think that you fit with the program or something like that, he can opt to not renew your scholarship. So the coaches kind of have all the control. But
then what do you do if you don't have your scholarship renewed and you can't afford to go to school? Are you stuck?
Yeah, you either drop out from college or try and find a new home.
That's intense.
Yeah, it is intense.
It's kind of scary, but you seem to have, as far as having good coaches and stuff, you seem to be lucky with that at least. Yeah. So when the NCAA denied you, the right to play not once, or twice, 3 times, how did it make you feel? Can you talk a little bit about what you were feeling and what was going through your head?
I mean, I was really looking forward to playing 2 years here at Rider University because I like the players and the coaches staff. But when I got denied, it was kind of like I was kind of stuck in this zone of like just not knowing anything. Like I was just like hanging around, not knowing. So it was kind of like a relief, kind of to know finally that I wasn't going to be able to play. But at the same time, like I was obviously sad that I couldn't play immediately.
Must be frustrating, especially after your run at Utah State.
Yeah.
So, for future athletes that have been either in your situation or a similar situation, or are going to be in your situation, do you have any advice you could give to other players that have dealt with the same kind of thing?
Just like when you make your college decision, when you decide to go play basketball at college, you kind of really have to know the intention of the coaches. Some coaches are all about like themselves, and if you can't help them, then they don't want to help you. And you kind of have to find that guy who's like willing to work with you and who sees your potential and believes in you. And if you find somebody who's going to believe in you, then you're going to reach your full potential. That's a big reason why, touching back with what you said about like playing professionally in Puerto Rico, I kind of was flirting around with the idea of just going and playing professionally. I then returned to my studies later, but then I found like a group of coaches who like really made me feel like at home and gave me gave me a sense that I could continue to grow, not only just play here, but I could continue to get better here.
Well, if you also had the chance to be drafted here, just saying in the bigger scheme, would you take it?
Yeah, definitely. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I still have this 1 year to play though, so I'll be able to graduate, and then that's always a possibility.
Well, congratulations to your accomplishments, regardless of the ride that you've been on. Yeah. And you know what? Good luck to you. Good luck to you in the future. For more on this story, please visit RiderUniversityNetwork.com. You can also follow Lopez this coming basketball season by visiting GoBronx.com. Thanks again for watching. I'm Sabrina Safran, and we'll see you next time.